Hey guys, it's Mrs. Felt. I am at my house and I am going to do a sketch of an eye inside of this sketchbook. If you'd like to follow along with me, you're more than welcome to. What you'll need is either a sketchbook or a piece of paper, blank paper, a pencil, some color pencils, and maybe a pen or something for the very last step, okay? I'll let you pause for now. Go grab those supplies. When you get back, we'll get started. Now, the first step when we're drawing this eye, I always say to you guys, start with a football shape. The football shape is representing the upper lid and the lower lid of the eye. Okay, both of them are curved, and we can kind of break down the way that the eyelids open and close into a football shape. I'm also drawing the inner corner of the eye. I'm drawing it right there on the left side, so if this eye is looking back at us from the paper, we are technically sketching a left eye right now. I'm also mapping out where I think my eyebrow would roughly be, just giving myself a rough map for when I start sketching the eyelid skin later on. Drawing very, very light and using my wrists and my arm to draw that circle. I want you to notice this iris that I'm drawing right now. The iris is the colored part of your eye. Notice how it is attached to the upper lid, or it hides, part of it hides behind the upper lid, but it is not touching the bottom when it floats above the lower lid. After I sketch in the iris and it's in a good spot, I'm going to sketch very carefully the pupil. The pupil is the black circle that is in the middle of your iris. After I've got the pupil roughly where I want it to be, I'm going to sketch another line right above that lower lid. It's actually also part of the lower lid. It's called our waterline. Right here I'm just adding a little bit of detail right in the corner of that eye, maybe making it a little bigger, and also starting to do the sketch right above the upper lid of where the actual skin of my eyelid kind of folds and makes a crease. Reinforcing, making it a little darker where my pupil is, and I'm also going to map out a little area of white for myself right inside of that pupil. I'm leaving myself the chance to have a highlight at the end of all of this coloring and shading, because when you're trying to do something that's sort of 3D looking or is using shadows, you also want to do highlights always. Adding highlights and shadows together in your artwork is always going to make it look a little more realistic. I'm going to start slowly and softly feeling out the eyelashes. Eyelashes are very tricky. It can make or break an eye sketch, always. The key to doing good eyelashes, in my opinion, is to go fast, very loose, and very light. These eyelashes are laying down a lot more than what I see students do a lot. When students are drawing eyelashes, they either draw straight up and down lines, or they draw curves that are just sticking way too high up. You'll see that these eyelashes are kind of hugging that upper eyelid, and it follows the bend of the upper eyelid. Now I'm going to get started with color pencil for now, but we're going to go back to those eyelashes, and you're going to see me follow them up, because they all go from one end of the lid line to the other, on your upper and your lower eyelid. Now the video is going to speed up here. I sped the video up, but I want you to just observe my coloring. If you're following along, you can always pause during this and rewind. Right now I'm just starting to fill in color on the iris, and you can see that I'm following the curve and the circular nature of the iris. Not just coloring random lines in all directions. I'm following that curve. I also colored very softly with the dark blue because I knew that I would be trying to add in some other colors. I'm making the top of the iris, I don't know if you can see it from here, but the top of the iris, I'm trying to press a little harder, make it a little darker. I'm trying to create a shadow right under the upper eyelid, because the upper eyelid is technically in front of your iris and your pupil and your sclera, which is the white part of your eye. You can see just now with the pencil that I added a little bit more there. I'm also going to use this gray. I'm also using very silly colors today. I've got a yellow and teal and dark blue eye, which I've never seen an eye quite that color before, but it's art and I can fill in whatever color I want. And I felt like doing a very pretty, very, very silly eyelid and eye. There I go with the eyelashes. And you can see how they follow the eyelid to the point where as the eyelid bends from the outside toward the inner part of the eye, the eyelashes change direction very gradually. The lower lashes, they're not as close together as the upper lashes, and they're a lot shorter than the upper lashes, but they're also there and they also follow the curve of the lower lid. You can see them bend with the lower lid. I guess I decided that this person was going to have purple skin because that's the color that I chose, which I really like because, hey, art. But you can see that I'm coloring in the eyelid on top above the eye. It's going to be the shadow there when you start coloring. It's going to be darkest on both corners of the eye and then lighter on the middle top of the eyelid. That's going to help it feel rounder. I used my purple to draw a darker shadow underneath that upper lid. Again, you're going to see me keep coloring under there to make it darker and darker. I used some pink on the waterline in the center of the eye, and I'm also going to use gray now. You can see how I'm kind of giving some shadow to the white part of that eye because we don't want it to be flat white. Using that dark gray also to fill in some cool iris lines. If you look at your eye in the mirror, you can see those really cool texture lines inside of your eye, kind of bursting away from your pupil. It's a very beautiful thing, and I love capturing that when I sketch eyes. Using this cool gray, which is a great color for shadows, to kind of give everything a texture. Add some more shadows inside that eye right there. And go ahead and color one more time over that dark, dark shadow right under the upper eyelid. Now, at this point, I'm going to grab my pen, and I slowed the video back down to real time. I'm going to give you another chance to go ahead and watch how I sketch these eyelashes, because I know this is a really tricky part of being able to draw eyes. I go very, very loose and very, very fast when I'm sketching eyelids, or eyelashes, I'm sorry. I'm using the pen to sort of define those lines a little bit because when I was coloring before with the color pencil, it kind of blended a little more. Some parts of this eye that I've sketched, you can see the color change very, very softly and it blends really well. Other parts are really, really sharp. You can see how I added even more shadow underneath that upper eyelid by adding hatching lines with my black pen. And I'm going to trace over those lower lashes to make them stick out a little bit more and feel a little bit sharper. Because when you look at the eyelashes on your actual face, they're very, very sharp lines. I think what people struggle with a lot with eyelashes is that they don't draw enough lines. You need to really fill in that lash line. We have way more eyelashes than we realize that we have. And it's very hard to get that slight curve down. But once you get it, and once you figure out how to do that slight curve, learning how to sketch the rest of the eye becomes a lot easier. And here I am just adding more shadow to the very, very back corner of the eye, the outside corner of the eye, because I think that helps to add a little bit of a 3D sort of rounded out vibe. The last thing I'm going to do, after I add some more dark marks, I'm going to sign my work. You always want to signature your work. We do eyes in class. I hope that you use this video as a reference. Thank you guys. I'll see you in class.